Hi guys, welcome to another video tutorial on Palito City Web Dev. In today's video we're going to be looking at the proper way to center our content on our web page. So there's a lot of method online that we can use to center our content in the middle of our page. But I discover most of those techniques that we used back then, it's not always perfect. We had to use margin auto, we had to implicitly use percentage, and we discover on a smaller screen we have to restyle the whole something. So today I'm going to be introducing to you how we can use display flex to center our content, and I'm going to be using some other properties so as for us to see the differences between them. So let's get started. So I've created a template. I call it sample.php. I'm running it on my local server, and I created a style with empty CSS style apart from my default style, having the margin 0, padding 0, box sizing to our border box, and our font. So this is what we have for now. So the idea behind it is that we want our image to be at the center of the page. We want it somewhere here within its container. So what we need to do is we already have the template. I created a container called middle and a sub container called content middle, and then our image. So I would remove this width. So now the first thing we need to do is to come to the first container, which is the middle. We come there and say middle. We give it a display of flex, so because we want it to be flexible around the page. Display flex. And the next thing we need to do, our content we are working with, what are we working with? The content middle. We want to place it at the middle of the page in the x-axis. So we say justify content center. But we want it to also we want it to be in the middle of our container, the middle container, because we're going to be giving the middle container height of 400 pixels, and we're going to be giving it a width of 100%, width of 100%. So we want it to be in the middle, exactly in the middle of our container. So we say align item. We want to align the item below or within the middle container. We want to align the item to the center of the page. So we can save that. But when viewing it, the image is so big because we didn't give it a particular size. So in order to do that, let's target the middle container. I want the image to have to increase in size and height based on the container it is within. So I would say middle container. I want to give it also a width and height. Since I give the upper container, the middle, 400, I want to give it height of 200, so we can see the effects. And width of what is it called? Width of 200 also. So the next thing is to target the image. So we say the image should be 100% width. We want to give it 100% width of its container. So it should take the whole space of its container. Its container is cont middle. So we say width of 100% and height of the same thing to 100%. So you just want it to take the full width and height of its container. Then we can just display this, and yes, it's in the middle of its container. Remember, the the overall container is 100%, which is of this. Okay, let me give it border so we can see the overall container. Border of 2 pixels, solid. By default it will give it solid black, so I don't need to, so I can resize this and still see it's still in the center. So the problem we have using margin auto is just that, okay, let's remove all the properties since we've seen the way it works here. So we can resize it to check how it is on different screen size. So it's more of, it's responsive. So when using margin auto, the only issue is that we have to explicitly center, give it a margin top of about 50% and do some mathematics jamu, and in which we are going to be doing right now. So I'm removing all the properties here. Okay, let's leave the middle container and all that. Okay, we are removing the display flex, the justify content. Okay, but we still want to give it this same height, this same width, and we want to remove the align contents. Let me save it and let's check it out. Okay, now when we are working with margin auto, we are working with the container, the particular container, which is the cont middle. We want to give it a margin auto, and you know margin auto has to do with width. We have to precisely give it a width. Without giving it a width, it can't give itself a margin of auto. So we see margin auto, we save it. Then now, yes, it is vertically aligned to the middle, but this is not all we want. We want it to also be it is horizontally centered in the middle. We also want it to be vertically centered to the middle. So the other trick we can do to it is to give it margin top of about 50%, and let's give the bottom, let's see, no, that's too much. Okay, that's because it's margin of 50%. Then I think there's a trick to it. We can give it a transform, translate y minus 50%. Okay, didn't really work, but we can also just reduce the margin top of, you can just say 20%. Okay, I think it's perfect here, but it's not perfect on a wider screen. So let's just see, let's remove this transform. I think it's because we're giving it margin top and bottom. From the top, we want you to go okay, 10%. 10% is too much. 5%. At least you can see the difficulty we are going to be encountering using margin. Is not perfectly centered to the middle. And the other trick we can do is to at least give it a position. We can say give the container a position of relative, and then come down to the container we are working with, give it a position of absolute, and give it a top of 50%. Let's see. So margin auto can't work with that. So we can now give it a left of also 50%. Save it, let's check it. Now we can now give it the transform, translate. So the x-axis, we want to give it minus 50%. The y-axis, the same thing, minus 50%. So it is perfect at the center. Even when we resize, it's perfect, but we don't want to go through this stress. So the fourth property, I think this is the third property we've worked with, but the margin auto didn't really give us that flexibility. We have to implicitly give it a media query for different screens to position the top, but for the positioning, relative and absolute, I think it works fine. So the next thing we can do to it is to give it from the container. We can also use the property display, but this time around we can say display table. So display table, then from here we can give it a display of table cell. Table cell. So we can give it a vertical align of middle. Yeah, it's at the middle, but I think the width didn't work for it. Okay, it's not taking the width. Okay, that's because it is displaying table cell. So when it's displaying table cells, it doesn't take the width of the container. So I need to remove the 100% to about, let's say, 60%. So normally it is now vertically aligned. So the next thing we have to do here is to, from here we can now give it a margin of auto to center it. Margin auto didn't work. Margin auto. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Margin auto. It didn't work for this too. Let me see display of block. So in order for us to use, okay, we can't use margin auto for an item that is not a block element. So the only trick I did to it is that from the container I gave it a display of table cells. Since the overall container is a table, let's assume this is a table, this is a particular column, row. So we want to center our content, this content, to the middle. So since this is a table cell, we can do that by using vertical align to align this to the center. So that's just the trick I used for it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and this tutorial has been educative. I want you to subscribe, share this video as much as you can. Thank you very much.